It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas everywhere you go. Take a look at the 5 and 10. It's glistening once again with candy canes and silver lanes that glow. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. Toys in every store, but the prettiest sight to see is the holly that will be on your own front door.
Good morning. Good morning. Guess I should pay attention to my own video, huh? Usually have it marked so I know when to come up here, so it looks professional. Totally missed that this morning. But that's okay. Good to see you guys. It's December. Can you believe it? Is anybody just totally amazed at how fast this year has gone by? Yes. Just ridiculous fast. It's crazy. It's already December. Christmas is going to be here before long. It's coming up. It really is. Guys, for all intents and purposes, we are basically done with the year-long sermon series. I mean, for real. We've taken an entire year to look at the red letter words of Jesus, living in the red, not just to hear His words, but to live them out. And we're in the last section. This is it, guys. Last section right here. I know there are 5 weeks in this month, but we're going to take 4 of those weeks and we're going to look at the feels. All, as it says, all the Christmas feels. The idea is that there are different emotions that pop up during Christmas time. Throughout the year, yes, but specifically Christmas time, we are loaded with different kinds of emotions. And so we want to address those. For some of you, this really is the most wonderful time of the year. Well, it's college football playoffs, so kind of is. But this Christmas season, for some of you, this is it. Man, this is what you live for. You get out of bed for days like, coming up soon. Maybe not today, because it's kind of dreary out there today. But for the moments coming up, you live for it. You love the snow. I know you're crazy. You love the snow. You love the snowmen. You love the decorations as you drive by and look at houses and they're all lit up with bright colors. You love to see all the decorations in the yard. You love them in the house. You love all the cookies and all the baked goods and all the foods that you get. You love traveling to family and having family travel to you and all the food and the presents. Did I say food, by the way? All the food. Is that where I'm at? You love it. This is it. You love this time. And when Christmas is over, you literally start counting the days again until it comes back around. For some of you, but not for all of you. Because of some of you in here, you're not like that at all. The Christmas doesn't, when it comes around, it doesn't feel like it's filled with joy or peace or hope. Sometimes it just feels like it's filled with sadness. And I recognize that. I do. That's why I want to take a look at some emotions that we experience over this particular holiday season. And I want to address them. I don't want us to bury them or hide them. I want us to take them at face value and address them. Because for some of you, you're kind of like me. Yeah, small and weird. No, when I was in, I guess back in high school, so, forever ago, it feels like, I would get depressed when Christmas came around. And I can't tell you why. I don't know why. I honestly don't. I just had this little bit of depression that would come up, and I guess it was just all the joyful, happy people you just wanted to punch them. Right? I honestly don't know what it was. I think some of that was because I had experienced a loss. My dad had died in my teen years, and I can relate to any of you here if you have a loss. And I know some of you do. Some of you it's very, very near and dear. Right now this will be a first Christmas or the first few Christmases without your loved one. I get it. It stinks. It's not the same. It's just not. So I recognize that. I understand that. Some of you, this is just a very sad time. For others of you, this is just a time just filled with crazy amounts of anxiety. How you're going to get everything done. How you're going to get everywhere, go or meet everyone. It just seems to be crazy, hectic, and stressful. And stress is what I want to talk about today. Because I think we can all relate to stress. I think stress is kind of like we talked about temptation a few weeks ago. Temptation is something that's going to hit every one of us. It will reach us yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Same thing with stress. We're going to get it. It's just part of the broken and fallen world that we live in. We're going to have stress. There are going to be stressful moments. So I want to take a look at stress today. Our text is going to be Luke chapter 10. If you turn there now, we'll start in just a moment. I'll turn there with you. While you're turning there, let me share something with you that I found out that I thought was pretty interesting and funny all at the same time, and maybe kind of sad. Ladies, listen up. Well, you're turning there, of course. Multitasking, you can do that, right? I hope so. Me too. There was a study that was done by a famous, and I don't know the guy, so I can't tell you how famous, but a famous British researcher, a psychologist, and he did a study with a group of men and a group of women, and the research was all done to see the effects of Christmas shopping among the individuals. And so when he sent out the men, now this was a controlled environment, so every single person that was sent out by themselves, but experienced the exact same elements. Everything was identical. And what they found was, when the men came back, all of the men, by the way, hands down, were affected adversely. Their blood pressure was so high that it was the equivalent of a fighter pilot going out on a mission. Seriously, can you believe it? Anybody not believe that? See, yeah, exactly. It's stressful. Now, when the women came back, you need to know, ladies, 1 out of every 5 had a slightly elevated blood pressure. Slightly. As in, they could just let them go, it was no big deal. With the men, they literally had to keep these guys longer and calm them down and settle them down and check their blood pressure again before they would let them go. It is that stressful. And I can tell you, I'm one of those guys. I go off Christmas Eve. Anybody else? Any weirdos out here? Christmas Eve people? Yep, a few of you. Good. Yeah, I'll see you guys at Meijer, Walmart, probably. I don't know. That's pretty much it. I'm the Christmas Eve guy. It's stressful. It really, really is. And guys, really it is stressful for guys more than others, apparently. But it is a stressful time for all of us. And if you really think about it, it shouldn't really surprise us. I mean, the first Christmas, it was loaded with stress. It really was. You got to think about there's angels appearing all over the place. They're scaring the daylights out of people. You have Mary, right? This young girl, she's pregnant. And out of wedlock, which was a big no-no in that culture, big no-no in that society. She could have been stoned to death, and that would have been okay, justifiable under the law. So she's pregnant. She's about ready to pop and give birth. Joseph, he's the guy that's going to marry her, but he's kind of saying, maybe I shouldn't because I know it's not my baby. There's a lot of talk that goes around. Kind of feels like one of those soap operas almost, right? Right, as the sands of Jerusalem or something. I don't know what it would be called, as in pyramid terms. I don't know, maybe not. But anyways, it just seems that there's a ton of stress. She's pregnant, she's ready to give birth, and then on top of that, right, Joseph gets this dream. He's thinking, I'm just going to divorce her. It's not my kid. I know it's not. And this angel says, no, it's the Son of God. You need to stay with her. You need to support both of them. So that's, again, a ton of stress right there. Then if that's not enough, he's got to go back to his hometown. Because there's a census that's being taken. Every male has to go back to their hometown for this census. So they hit the road and they start to travel. And I'm sure, again, Mary, just about ready to pop and give birth at any moment. She's probably overjoyed with the travel that she gets to make. It doesn't matter if she's not walking, still riding on the back of a donkey or a camel, a horse, a mule, a dog. It doesn't make a difference. It's a long hike no matter what when you're ready to pop. So they travel. There are no rest areas along the way. There are no restaurants. There's no comforts really of any sort. They get where they need to be. Joseph goes in, hey, stay here. I'll go get a room for us, babe. He goes in, finds out there's no room at the inn. He comes back out to tell his wonderful wife, whom I'm sure is so overjoyed and ready to sleep. We get to sleep in a barn. Right? We get to sleep in a stable. I'm sure there's just tons of stress. Can you kind of see it and sense it? It was there. So it's no surprise that we have it today as well. Stress is just part of our lives, and specifically when it comes to Christmas, it's a part of Christmas as well. So we want to talk about it today. We don't want to avoid it, we want to address it, and we want to learn how to overcome it. How to beat stress. We talked about this a couple weeks back with how to beat temptation. Same kind of concept. How to beat stress. How to avoid it. Hopefully avoid it, or at least manage it and control it this season. So, our text is Luke chapter 10. If you guys are ready, you got your Bibles or your Bible apps on your smartphones, or you got it memorized, or just read it behind me. Let's go ahead and read the text. Luke 10, starting in verse 38. It says, now as they were traveling along, that's Jesus and his disciples, he entered a village, and a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. She had a sister called Mary, who was seated at the Lord's feet, listening to his word. But Martha was distracted with all her preparations. And she came up to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to do all the serving alone? Then tell her to help me. I want to start off just by letting you know that it may seem weird that we're starting this series on Christmas and we're not talking the Christmas story today. We're not looking at that. I don't want you to be bummed out. We're going to get there in a couple weeks. I promise you, and Christmas Eve is going to be phenomenal. Please be here for that, our Christmas Eve service. But I want to start off talking about stress because stress is part of this. And if we handle stress now, and when we get to the joyful, peaceful parts of Christmas, hopefully they will be joyful and peaceful moments for us. So the text is really all about stress, essentially. And the backdrop is, this is Bethany. This is a small village just outside of Jerusalem. This is the other side of the Mount of Olives. And this is the first time, at least the first time we see in the text mentioned, where Jesus goes to the home of Mary and Martha and their brother Lazarus. Now, how it all happened, I don't know. I'll give you two particular options. One, maybe there's just a standing invitation, right? Open. Hey, Jesus, mi casa, su casa, anytime you're in town, you don't need to phone ahead, you don't need to send anybody, just come in, just drop by, it's all good to go. We'll make some food, we'll hang out. That could have been very, very, very possible. Or Lazarus could have met with Jesus at the Feast of Tabernacles. And they could have just talked a little bit, and Lazarus said, you need to come over and have some food. And Jesus said, yeah, let's do that. How about after the week is done? Maybe sometime after that. And Lazarus says, yeah, we'll pencil it in. Or how they probably etched it into a rock, right? So it really isn't penciling it. You kind of etched in stone for real. You got to come now, Jesus, it's done. So I don't know how that all worked, but we know that Jesus is there. And listen, all the preparations that had to be made, you guys know. You get it, right? At least I hope you get it. I can tell you for us, family-wise, I'll share in just a moment, and I'll hopefully get the details right, because my wife has told me that I get the point correctly that I want to get across, but the details are wrong. It wasn't my sister, it was a brother, it wasn't in Michigan, it was in Alaska. It's like I have some of the details wrong. I told her I was going to make sure that I would give great details, but I would probably just skip the details today. But anyways, I think you guys get it. You understand the stress that's involved in the Christmas season. There's no difference than what we have in the text. Mary and Martha are preparing this meal, not just for Jesus, right? Because he's always got this entourage with him. He always has at least 12 guys with him, right? Always. 12 disciples. Sometimes there are more that come with him. So you're talking 13 dinner guests for sure. How many of you are prepared this afternoon for 13 dinner guests just to drop by? Anybody? Hey, we have one. Good. So like the half of this row, we can go over to Erica's, I think. Most of us, we don't, right? 13, you're talking about 13. There's a lot of preparation in that. So Mary and Martha, they're diligently working and serving, making all the preparations that need to happen. And then when Jesus shows up, what happens? Mary just comes over here and just sits down at the feet of Jesus. Martha's over here still working away, still trying to get everything done, still going through it. Can you catch the stress in her voice, by the way? Lord, aren't you? Doesn't it even bother you that she left me? She kicked me to the curb. She's making me do all this by myself. Kind of sense the stress there. She's really caught up in the distractions of the event, and not the event or the moment itself. The moment, the event, is Jesus. Jesus is coming over. He's coming to visit. He's here for a meal. That's why we do all the preparation. Mary got it figured out. She's like, yeah, I'm good. I'm just going to sit down and listen to Jesus. Martha over here, all up in the Kool-Aid, stirring it, doesn't know what flavor it is. She's a mess right now, absolutely stressed out, and she's voicing that. I think we all have a little bit of Martha in us. I can remember times when, the week of Christmas, it was nice work-wise because I usually I worked in a factory, so I pretty much got 2 weeks off, which was good because I got paid for it. Not so good because I was ready to go back after like 2 days, right? Ready to go back to work. Guys, you know what I'm saying. The kids were little, they're running around and, I got that look from the mom. Yes, you know what it's like. It was stressful. We would have one day where we would take all the kids, get them up, get them dressed. You got to prepare just the right amount of foods because you're taking foods to a certain family to go to that house. We would go, let's say, to my grandmother's house on my mom's side. So we got to prepare what we're going to bring there. We get the kids, we get the gifts. Only the right gifts go with us. You can't bring the wrong ones because it doesn't happen if you get cousin Bob and Bob isn't there. He's on a different side. So you got to get all loaded up. Again, you shove them in the truck or the car, whatever you got. You drive there. You spend the entire evening with family. It's great. Good fellowship, fun, great foods. I have a huge family, by the way, so always great foods. My wife has a huge family. It was just the perfect blending of us. We could take over like Goshen. Actually, we have so many family members, just a massive family. So you go to my grandma's side, on my mom's side, and do that. The next day might be, I don't know, grandma on my dad's side. So we're over there to that, going to Sparta, Michigan. Now we're down in the basement of my grandma's house. We're all packed in, massive family in a tiny basement, right? Like fat guy in a little coat was totally like that. You didn't have much room to move in there. Great food, great fellowship, loved it. Again, you got to juggle the kids, you got to juggle the food, you got to juggle all the presents, everything. And then the next day, when you go home and you're like, that was good. You get to sleep a little bit. You get up the next day and you're going to somewhere else. Maybe this time we're going to Shannon's mom's side of the family. Again, she has a huge family. So you spend an entire day there. Again, kids get up, get them ready, get them dressed. I don't want to go. I don't care. Shut up. Get moving. Get in the car. Gotta go. We're going to be late. There's snow. Go shovel the driveway. Right? There's just a ton of stress involved. Again, grab the food, grab the gifts, make sure it's all right. Get the dog. You can't leave anybody behind. You go, you get there, and there's always that one relative, am I right? No matter what side of the family it is, who just makes you not want to be around them. You all have them. I think you do. I might be that guy on my side. I don't know. I always wonder who's the cousin Eddie in the family. There's always one. There's always a cousin Eddie. I might have been that guy previously. Anyways, you load up, you get there, you spend all day. Again, you got to have all the stuff that you got to have only for there. Plus, you're bringing gifts back because the kids are little. They load them up with gifts, which is great, but you don't have enough room in the car by the time you pack in and go home. The next day, you come back, you wake up, you try to get dressed. Yeah, my wife's already stressed. I can tell by looking at her because we've gone through this. We've been there and done that so much. The next day you go to her stepmom and dad's side of the family. And again, it's this big ordeal with that side of the family. All the brothers, all the sisters, everybody coming in. And again, just the juggle with everything. And then the next day, as if there isn't enough days, the next day would be at my sister Kay. We'd have a day at her house where she'd invite all the brothers and the sisters, and of course mom, grandparents, and what have you would come over. A big event too with all the kids and the nieces and nephews, and just stress upon stress upon stress. I think you could probably relate, right? Can anybody relate by show of hands? Like 5 of you? Okay. So a bunch of liars, and we got a bunch of chickens. I know we have chickens in here, right? Who's breathing air right now? And then people going, I ain't breathing air. I'm breathing H2O. I don't know how you breathe water. But anyways, that's just stupid. But for real, some of you guys just don't answer. There's stress involved in all of it. There's fun, there's joy, there's love, there's hope, there's peace. All of that this holiday season, this Christmas season. But there's also stress. I think we have a little bit of that Martha in us. We get distracted with the details and we miss the moment. Right? It's preparing the food and the presents and the kids and the car and the dog and cat and whatever. And it's all the details about that particular event, and then we end up missing the event. Right? It just blows by us, and we get home and say, "Wow, that was good." Was Bob there? I don't remember seeing Bob. Yeah, you don't remember seeing Bob because it was just a blur because everything went so fast. Again, the focus is on Jesus. That's the reason why we do everything. That's the reason Martha was doing everything. She didn't do anything wrong when she was fussing. She was just, again, focused on the details. And I think we can do that sometimes as well. We can miss sight of why we do what we're doing in the first place and lose sight that it's all about Jesus. So let me just give you a few takeaways and a few observations. Rays of sunshine? I don't know. We're still trying to figure out what to call these things. They're just Ray's observations. One observation is this. We all handle stress differently. We do. I know some who will clean when they're stressed. Come over to my house. And if I can do my part to stress you out even more, I will gladly, I will help. I will do what I can. Some people, seriously though, they clean when they're stressed. My wife used to do it. She doesn't do it anymore. I guess because I don't stress her out anymore. We know that's it, right, sweetie? Oh, sure. She said it. See, we're in church. Can't lie. Some people clean. Honestly, I'm stressed out. I need to do something. I clean. I would watch her. She would move the refrigerator, clean behind the fridge, clean out the fridge, the freezer. She'd take everything out of cupboards, high and low, clean them all out with the washcloth. She would hand wash the floors with the washcloth and soapy water, hands and knees, and do all that stuff, nooks and crannies and everywhere. Kind of nice, but it's also kind of not. Because like the kids are at Savannah, because you're like, wait, where's mom? Clean it? Oh, I'm going outside. It didn't matter. It'd be a blizzard outside, you just go outside. You're just going to get away from mom because mom's stressed, you just knew about it. Others, they don't handle stress in that way at all. They just need to get away. I'm stressed, I just need to go outside. Sometimes maybe it's, I don't know, maybe just sit on the steps or sit on the porch. That's just enough. Just give me some time, just some me time. Shut up, Calgon, take me away. I'm good right here. Others, it's all about music. You want to listen to some music. You got a band that you love. Maybe it's just music. Maybe just this time it's like Christmas music. That's why I chose this song in the video this time. To get you in the mood. Get you guys prepared for what's coming up. Maybe it's just that. You need music and you sit and you just listen to some music and man, you're good to go. Maybe others of you, it's got to be a little more physical. Maybe it's just got to be a walk. You just got to go for a walk. Right? It's not enough just to sit, because you just sit and stir and you're still stressed. You get a walk, you just walk it off a little bit. Others, maybe it's even more intense. Right? You got to go to the gym. You got to hit some weights. Like, put 600 on that bar. I can do it. Right? Maybe roll it. I don't know. But really, you need something really aggressive, like Bill. You appreciate this. Our oldest son, Alex. He would always need to punch something. Fortunately, we had a bob. That's a body opponent bag. For those of you who don't know, it's the upper torso. We use it in martial arts all the time. Anyways, that or a heavy bag. He would just beat the stuffings out of that thing, kick until his legs were like jello. He was good. He was fine after that. You didn't want to get him run. You don't want to get in between him. He was good after that. Right? Others like me, a few of you, you got drums as you're growing up. You can beat the snot out of the drums, right? You just bang it. I outgrew that though. I baby my drums now. They're over there all sad and lonely. But sometimes we need those things. We need to be physical, right? There are different ways. We all respond to stress in different ways. But the real question this morning, again, as we've gone through an entire year looking at Jesus, not just learning about Him, but really getting to know Him at the deepest possible level so we live His Word rather than just hear it or know it. What does Jesus want for us when it comes to stress? How does He want us to handle stress? And that's really the important key for us this morning. So I want to share with you 3 specific takeaways on how to handle stress this Christmas season, hopefully, and beat it. First of all, we need to be listening to the words of Jesus. Pretty simple. I don't want this to sound hokey. I don't want it to sound cliche. I don't want it to sound churchy, because we always talk about that. We want to be real. We want to be authentic. Some of the things we say in church sound very churchy, right? Keep the fight, right? Run the race. But they all mean something. We just have to dig deep and actually show what it really means. So listening to the words of Jesus is very important. Mary had it figured out. She was serving, doing what she needed to, but when Jesus showed up, I'm done. I'm right here. I'm just going to take a seat next to Jesus. I'm going to listen to what He has to say. It was very intentional. Well, we have to be very intentional when it comes to that, especially, as we talked about, with all the craziness that we've kind of described, and at least for my family, Christmas, the week of, is crazy and hectic. So some of you, as you laughed, you were probably laughing, going, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Some of you were probably crying, thinking, I know what you're talking about. It can be busy, it can be hectic. We have to be intentional, very, very intentional, to hear His words. And if I'm up here talking and you're trying to listen to me and there's music playing and everybody talking, you're not going to hear me, so it needs to be quiet. So you have to have those quiet moments to be able to hear. And let me give you 3 very quick ways to hear Jesus. Right here's one. His Word. It's kind of awesome. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of super cool that God gave us His Word, that He tells us what He wants for us and from us, and it's all right here. We just have to read it. Remember how I said Christianity is simple? It is. It's not easy, but it is simple. Here it is. Read it and do the best you can to do what it says. Just apply it. So you got to be reading His Word. That's how we hear His Word. Makes sense. But there's also time in prayer. I can't stress prayer enough. We just finished 6 weeks looking at prayer, specifically why and how to pray. And it's all about that connection with God. He already knows what you want. He already knows what's on your heart before you even approach Him, before it even forms in your head, before you even start to put the words together. He already knows what it is. Why do we do it? Because it's about that relationship with Him. It's all about that connection to the Father. And then the third thing I would say is be in church. Again, even more hokey or gimmicky than we would say. But guys, listen, there's a reason why we're here. We're not here because we've got it all figured out. We're not here because we're perfect. There's no way. I could never lead a perfect congregation. I'm not that guy. I am flawed. We're here because we have all fallen short of the glory of God. We know it. We know that we struggle. We know that we have issues. We know that we battle with sin and temptation, and we have this broken world that we live in, and we know that. And so we struggle through that. So we're here because we get that. We get that we're not perfect. We know that we've got a long ways to go, but we're redeemed by the blood of Christ. And so when we come in here, we celebrate. And every week should be a celebration. Like we talked about last week, God is God and I am not. Some of you remember it, yeah. And because of that, we celebrate. We celebrate His goodness and His grace and His mercy, His patience with us. Guys, for real. But this is intentional. It's something we have to be intentional about getting in to church, to worship Him through song, through our giving. My favorite part of the entire service. Even though I preach, I love the giving. It's my favorite part. And worshiping, obviously, through His message. His message. Not just my words, but His message. And so grateful that the power's in the message and not in the messenger. Amen to that. Boy. But guys, it has to be intentional. So being at the feet of Jesus, listening to His words. Number one, so listen to the words of Jesus. It has to be done. If you want to beat stress, listen to the words of Jesus. Don't listen to the world around you, because it will confuse you and it will mislead you. So that's first and foremost. Second is share your struggles. Another observation for you before we dive into this one a little deeper. We see Mary. This isn't the mother of Mary, by the way, that we're talking about this morning. Mother of Mary. Mother of Jesus. That might be the mother of Mary. I don't know. It might have been a Mary. But anyways, not the mother of Jesus. We see Mary several times throughout Scriptures. We see her 3 specific times at the feet of Jesus. That's what I kind of want to highlight a little bit this morning. We saw her, of course, in the first text, Luke 10. She's at the feet of Jesus, listening to His word. As Martha's over here frantic and panicking about everything, she's right here, calm, at peace, listening to Jesus. The second time we see this happening, is in John chapter 11, verse 32. It should be on the screen behind me. There we go. I'm just going to go read it and then we'll talk about it. It says, when Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw Him, here it is, guys, she fell at His feet. She said, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. I think the second part of this is share your struggles. Mary didn't pull any punches. This is her brother Lazarus had died. She sent for Jesus 4 days earlier. You guys probably know the story just as well as I do. Jesus doesn't come back at that time. He's still hanging around doing what he needs to do. And 4 days later he shows up and Lazarus is already dead. And Mary's distraught. And she sees him. She falls at his feet. I love that. I love that she takes that place. She falls at his feet and she's broken. And she doesn't hold any punches. She doesn't say, well, it's all good. It's okay. I know you're busy. It's no problem, Jesus. It's all right. I understand. She didn't say that. She didn't say any of that. She just went straight, cut to the chase. If you'd have been here, my brother wouldn't have died. She knows that if he would have showed up sooner, that he would have healed him. I firmly believe that that's where her heart was, that's where her mind was, that she believed Jesus would come in and heal Lazarus. Now, from here though, and I wonder, kind of guys, why we think we gotta hide. I mean, honestly, hide our emotions. I think this is a good lesson. I wasn't going to talk about it, but there it is right there. So it's a good lesson for us. Don't hide. Don't hold back. Share your struggles. You should share your struggles with others. You should have somebody. You should all have someone that you can share anything with. I have 3, and I've told you before. Keith Wood, which most of you have met, and he'll be back again in 2020 sometime, coming back to the church building, so most of you have met him. Doug Francis, you probably never met. Well, 2 right here have for sure, my family. I can tell Doug anything. Anything. And then Dave Williams, you haven't met him? Awesome man. Just shout out to Dave Williams today. If you're watching, Dave, love you, brother. Seriously, I can tell those guys anything. Like I said before, they're the kind of guys who show up with a dead body and a shovel, and you ring their doorbell, and they open the door and they say, hey, let me get my keys. Right? I mean, they don't question, they just help. They just jump in. Okay, that's a horrible illustration. Don't take that. Don't put that one on Facebook. It's terrible. Suddenly we'll have like 5 people in church next week and the cops will show up. Terrible illustration. But I think you get the point. Those guys, I can tell those guys anything at all. Any struggle I have, I can share with them, and they get it. They're in ministry, they've been in ministry, they have lives, they have children. They get those things. They get the struggles that we get specifically in ministry that some of you guys probably just don't understand. And that's okay. You don't have to. We're all in this boat together. But share your struggles. And share your struggles with Jesus. Don't be afraid to tell him you're angry, or you're sad, or you're hurt, or you're confused. It's okay to share those things. Share those moments with him. Open up and just let him know. And don't hold back. Again, Mary could have said, well, it's all good, but she didn't say that. She just jumped right in and said, if you'd have been here, my brother would still he'd be alive. Now, you know how the story goes, and I love how the story goes. Jesus is going to raise him from the dead. But just a little bit before that, we see a little bit of the beauty of Jesus connecting with us. Our struggle connecting with him and his reaction. Because in John 11, verse 35, it says, Jesus wept. So you see in Mary, and Mary's broken, and she's crying, and she's in tears, and she's down on her knees at his feet. She's got nowhere to go. There's a crowd that's with her, and they're broken as well, and they're all crying. And Jesus, when he sees that, I mean, he knows he's going to raise him from the dead anyway. He could have easily said, what? Stop crying. Check this out, Lazarus. Come here. He could have done that. He could have did his big celebration and super epic. But he doesn't. He connects with them. He connects with us. And he cried. He shared that struggle with them. Because we talked about this, guys. We have a high priest who's been there and done that. He's gone through pain and suffering and brokenness and hurt and all of the things that we've experienced and that we experience. So he knows, he gets us, he connects with us like no one else. I love that. So share your struggles with him. Don't be afraid to take those moments quietly in prayer and just pour out your heart. He already knows what you're going to say. But share it with him. Okay? That's second. And then third, I would say, third and finally, give him our hearts. Give him your heart. The third time we see Mary at the feet of Jesus. John chapter 12, verse 3. Mary then took a pound of a very costly perfume of pure nard and anointed the feet of Jesus and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance of the perfume. She just poured out her heart. That was worship. Listen, that was I don't know how to explain this because I can't fathom doing this myself. So if I struggle with why, I guess I struggle with how to share it. I would never. You're talking a costly perfume that she had, a year's wage. You guys know what you earn in a year for a wage. Could you imagine spending a year's wage on a bottle of perfume? Or a bottle of cologne? Or aftershave? No, I'm fine. I'll just be stinky. Thank you. I'll go with the razor burn. I'm good. Man, I couldn't imagine. I wouldn't spend a year's wage on a drum set. Although I feel like I did. But no, I didn't. I wouldn't spend a year's wage on a drum kit. I would spend a year's wage on a house, but a year's wage on a house, you guys know that's not going to get you much anyway. And a vehicle, a year's wage on a vehicle? Sorry. Still too rich for my blood. I don't think there's anything I would spend a year's wage on buying, and yet this is a full year's wage that she bought with this perfume. Now maybe it took her entire life to save up, just a little bit at a time. I don't know, but it's expensive. That's the point. It's incredibly expensive. And she doesn't dump it or spill it. She pours it with purpose over Jesus' feet, and then she takes her hair, and she'd have to take it down. So sign of humility. I was going to look at Lucy, she's walking out the door. Sign of humility, brought her hair down, and she dried his feet with her hair. Guys, just the most amazing place to be. She's pouring out her heart. Can you relate? Especially during the Christmas season. I think there's so much, just from that text alone, I could probably continue for another 30 minutes, but I won't, I promise you. There's so much in that. There's so much in that, but just being the final takeaway to really add to the others of giving them your heart. Everything you do with intention. And that comes down to listening to his word. That takes intention. That really is giving him your heart. When I listen to my wife and she's talking, I'm giving her my heart. I'm listening to what she has to say. I'm not going to continue to text or read a book or talk and I found out the hard way I can't play drums and listen either. So I tried that because I kind of give her the blank stare while I'm doing stuff and then I miss it completely. I give her my full attention. I'm giving her my heart. It's the same thing in all of us for our conversations. It's the same thing for Jesus. When you're hearing Him, when you're listening to His Word, give Him your heart completely. When you're sharing your struggles with Him, of course it's the same thing. You're giving Him your heart. You're pouring out your heart to Him in all that you can. Guys, here's the deal. I don't know what you brought in here today. I don't. Some of you I do. Some of you I know. I know some of the hurt. I know some of the pain. I know some of the real struggles that you're going through right now. And stress would be an understatement. I do. Really. But for most of you, I don't. I don't know what's going on with you right now. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what you're carrying in your heart. I don't know the burden that you've come in here with this day. I don't know that, but Jesus does. And I know that sounds cliche and churchy, but guys, it's true. He knows. He really does. And the only way to find the peace and the joy and the hope that we're going to talk about over the coming weeks is really to be at the feet of Jesus. And so whatever you brought in, just give it to Him. Just fall at the feet of Christ. Give that to Him. Share your struggles with Him. Share it. It's real, and He knows it's real. Don't leave here today with that. You know what you brought in here. You don't have to take it out here. If you do, that's on you completely. Because Jesus says, come to me all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. And I know some of you today, you need rest. You do. Follow at His feet. Follow at His feet. Guys, it all comes down to that. It's real simple. And so if you're here this morning and you just want prayer, maybe that's it for you. Maybe you just need prayer today. Someone to pray with you, pray for you. I'll tell you what, I'm going to come down here because you know this is our invitation time. And I don't offer this all the time, just simply for, trying to keep